Thank you for having chosen to watch this video. In this video, my friend Karnika and myself Aishwarya will explain what a memorial or memo is, what is the importance of a memo, and what the contents of a memo are. With respect to the first question, a memo is a written submission made by the parties before the adjudging forum. In a moot court competition, each participating team should prepare a memorial for both the sides. While in courts, parties submit their affidavits, plaints, and written statements at various stages of the proceedings. Since the moot court competition is a one time event and is mimetic of the actual court proceedings, the parties here make their submission in the form of a memorial. It is a comprehensive document which contains the issues that subsist between the parties, their arguments, and the relief sought by them, which we shall dwell at in detail at a later point in time. With respect to the importance of a memo, in some moot court competitions, the teams qualified to the oral rounds only based on their memorials. That is, there takes place a memorial elimination prior to the oral rounds. In some moots, the memo scores are added to decide if teams are qualifying to the subsequent rounds, while the memo scores are used as a tiebreaker in most competitions. Further, in every moot court competition, a Best Memorial Award is conferred. Now, moving on to the contents of a memo. A memo has to always adhere to a certain format, while minor changes can be incorporated based on the rules of the competition. Now, we are going to present you with a standard memo and try to elucidate the different aspects that constitute it. So, what we are looking at now is the front or cover page of the memo. The box on the top right end indicates the unique team code allotted to the participating team by the host. The participating teams will be identified by the team code only and not by their respective university names. A participant code or team code will be allotted by the Moot Court Association of our college for the freshers moot and the internal challenges conducted by a college as well. The first line states the forum before which the case is filed, here it being the Supreme Court. The subsequent line indicates the provision of law which enables us to file such a petition or case. The subsequent line stating X versus Y states the names of the parties, the one who files it and the person against whom it is being filed, which may be the petitioner and respondent, or plaintiff and defendant, or prosecution and defense, as the case may be, depending on the nature of the case. Further, the cover page also indicates that it is the memo submitted on behalf of the petitioners or the respondents, as the case may be. The second page is the table of contents, or what we commonly call the index, which educates as to what the subsequent pages contain and their page numbers respectively. The list of abbreviation provides us with the expansion of the words that are repeatedly or seldom used as such in the rest of the memo. It is important as though the short forms may be of common parlance, they may sometimes indicate more than one meaning. Index of authorities is the next topic. The index of authorities is the sources from which we collected materials based on which we substantiate our arguments with reference to concepts of law, doctrines in law, maxims, and precedents or cases previously decided on similar lines. The sources we commonly rely on include websites and books, the use of which we shall get accustomed to over a period of time. Further, what enables one to identify a case is the citation. A citation is an identifier which indicates the year in which the case was decided, the forum that adjudged the case, and the journal reporting it. The next topic is the statement of jurisdiction. It at length deals with the provision of law which enables one to file a suit before that particular forum, thus conferring jurisdiction on the forum, meaning the right to hear such petition. The respondent has the right to contest such jurisdiction provided it is improper or incorrect. The subsequent topics shall be discussed by Karnika.
Next up, on the contents of a memo, we have the statement of facts. The statement of facts is a more shortened and crisp version of the proposition or the problem of the moot court competition that highlights the relevant facts of the case. It comprises only of the significant and essential facts involved in the case and is presented in a concise manner. The statement of facts usually does not exceed more than a page or two. Coming up next, we have the statement of issues. The statement of issues is where you list out the legal issues or points of law involved in the case and raised before the court. The issues are usually mentioned in the proposition of the moot court competition, but if the competition guidelines does not restrict, one is at liberty to include more issues that they believe should be addressed. Next, we have the summary of arguments. The summary of arguments, true to its name, is nothing but a brief introductory of your arguments under each issue. It contains the core and vital points of argument that you are going to put forth under each issue, highlighting the main crux of the argument under that particular issue. It ideally extends to not more than one page. Moving on, we come to the heart of the memo, the arguments advanced. It consists of the legal arguments that will back up your submissions. It is where you elaborate your arguments in detail under each of the issue raised with the ample support of legal precedents, reports, statutes, facts, and any other legal authorities as you please. You may also add further subheadings or sub-issues to justify your reasoning. It is encouraged to present these arguments in an orderly manner, and the aim is to put forth your contentions as clearly and precisely as possible. It is important to make sure that you do not forget to include appropriate references and citations for all the case laws, statutes, extracts from legal books, commentaries, articles, and any other research materials used in the footnotes. The underlying idea of the arguments advanced in total is to do everything in terms of both form and substance to help the court understand the reasonableness, logic, and the legal credibility of the arguments put forth. Now, we move on to the last and final part of the memorial, the prayer. The prayer is one of the most crucial elements of a memo which validates it and without which a memo is incomplete. The prayer is where one claims for relief before the court. It consists of what you are seeking from the court or what you want the decision of the court to be. More than one relief can be claimed in one cause of action. This clearly declares and highlights what the petitioner or the defendant actually wants from the court in his or her favor. It is important to make sure that the relief asked is legally sound and is accompanied by apt provisions of law. The prayer is usually short and precise and does not run more than a page. The prayer ends with the signature of the counsel and thus ends the memo. This right here is typically how a prayer takes shape. Apart from focusing on the contents of the memo, one must also give ample importance to the overall formatting of the memo. The appropriate font, font size, line spacing, margin spacing, inclusion of page borders, page numbers, numbering of issues and sub-issues, citation formatting, footnote formatting, etc. is often prescribed by the moot court competition guidelines. They must be strictly adhered to and uniformity must be followed throughout. Hope you found this brief overview of the contents of a memo very helpful. For further queries or clarifications, feel free to approach any of the MCA representatives. We would be glad to help you out. Thank you and happy mooting!